Next on Currents News, Catholic schools in Brooklyn and Queens start a new year. Details coming up on how teachers are making sure their students are well supplied. New horrors of Christian persecution and the place where having a Bible at home can get you killed. I'll report on Our Lady of Guadalupe statue and a mystery that could be a miracle. Plus, a woman's strong faith in people is justified when the men she calls her angels lend a hand. The news starts right now.
I'm going into a new grade and I'm excited to learn new stuff.
That youngsters' excitement is shared in Catholic classrooms throughout Brooklyn and Queens. Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Faublas. This is the first day of school. Catholic education in the Brooklyn Diocese is starting a new year. And Currents News' Tim Harfman is here with the story of teachers taking extra steps to ensure that their students are well supplied. Tim.
Liz, 9 out of 10 teachers in the U.S. spend hundreds of dollars out of their own pockets on classroom supplies each year. And dedicated educators at St. Xavier Catholic Academy in Park Slope, Brooklyn are no different. Miss Ramonzo's second grade classroom is decorated for her 18 new students.
This year we're going to do an ambassador theme, so teaching the kids about, what kind of ambassador do they want to be, about peace or animals, and sort of finding how they can make a difference.
But in order to do so, Miss Ramonzo, like many teachers in the U.S., is paying out of her own pocket to help these young ambassadors.
Sometimes it can be tough, and so you just have to be creative.
Over 90% of educators spend nearly $500 on supplies, according to a nationwide survey by the Department of Education. 7% admit to fronting over $1,000.
We do a lot of recycling in the classroom, so I try to reuse a lot of materials, and I share that with the students, and then hopefully give them some inspiration, but that helps cut costs as well.
Now in her 7th year teaching at St. Xavier Catholic Academy in Park Slope, Miss Ramonzo shares advice for other educators.
Things are going to be expensive, so see if you can make it on your own or find an alternative method to get to it. It's a little bit extra work, but in the end, it pays off.
Nearly 45,000 students from nursery to 12th grade will receive a Catholic education in the Brooklyn Diocese this year. On this first day of school, students at St. Xavier's have mixed emotions.
I'm really nervous. I'm really excited about learning about reading and literacy and that sort of stuff.
They're already using the new materials that their teachers have purchased. Playing back-to-school bingo and building with blocks helps students get to know each other and their teachers.
Don't be nervous, just come in and enjoy. We're here to support you and to help you and to make this a great year for you.
And educators like Miss Ramonzo have the tools or supplies to help her students succeed.
Together we're going to be a team, and together we'll be able to accomplish a lot.
After today, there are 179 days left in the school year, and between now and then, teachers are expected to spend hundreds of dollars on their students, Liz.
Tim, with all that said, do they get reimbursed at all?
They can deduct it on their taxes, but the IRS only allows each person to write off $250 each on school supplies. And to be eligible, a teacher or principal has to spend at least 900 hours throughout the school year in a Catholic academy or high school. Liz.
Oh, Tim, thank you so much. We really appreciate their dedication. Great report. Thank you. A big meeting at the Vatican between the Pope and Cardinal Donald Wuerl is being disclosed in news reports. The one-on-one session occurred last week, and according to sources, Wuerl and Francis talked about the clerical sex abuse controversies involving the Cardinal. The Pope reportedly told him to consult with the priests of his Washington Archdiocese as he decides his future. 2 priests from Chicago were arrested in Miami Monday on charges they engaged in a sex act while sitting in a parked black car. Father Diego Berrio, on the left, has been removed from ministry by the Chicago Archdiocese. Father Edwin Giraldo Cortez is from Colombia, and church authorities in the country have been informed of his arrest. New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan is speaking out on the clerical sex abuse crisis. In his latest podcast, he talked about the deep hurt in the church caused by the scandals.
No sin is isolated to the single act. You lose your temper, you lash out at somebody, you commit a sexual sin, you take some money, it never stays right there. It keeps affecting people. And if we needed Exhibit A about the social dimension of sin, do we ever have it?
Yeah.
Because there's not a person in the church that's not been affected by this.
Cardinal said even his nearly 90-year-old mother called him to say she's embarrassed and feels shame. He said she won't go to her nursing home's dining room because she doesn't know what to say about the scandals. A new U.S. report on religious persecution found the harshest levels of repression in 16 countries. The U.S. International Commission on Religious Freedom listed among the worst offenders China, Pakistan, and North Korea. The Federal Commission urged the Trump administration and Congress to take action against the countries and aid fleeing refugees. Benedict Rogers is an expert on religious violence in North Korea and China. He's the East Asia director for a Christian human rights organization that specializes in religious freedom, Christian solidarity worldwide. He described to Sean Richardson the horrors committed by the Kim Jong-un regime.
If you are a Christian in North Korea and you're discovered to be a Christian, if you're found to possess a Bible in your home, if you're found to be meeting with other Christians to pray, you certainly will end up in a prison camp for probably the rest of your life. In some cases, you might be executed.
This persecution of religion in North Korea, Benedict says, is because its regime demands total loyalty to the ruling Kim family and is especially intolerant to Christians.
The Kim family is almost treated as a deity in North Korean society. I think it associates Christians in some ways with the West, with America, with South Korea, of course. It sees this belief system that gives people faith and hope and courage, and it's afraid of it.
According to Benedict Rogers, Christians in China also suffer persecution, and President Xi Jinping has built a cult of personality.
In certain places where, for example, Christians who have either a cross or perhaps a painting of our Lord on the wall, the police come in and ask them to remove that and replace it with a picture of Xi Jinping.
As Christians in China still experience the closing down of churches and removal of crosses, 34 churches in Beijing have issued a declaration calling on the government to respect basic freedom and religious rights. In Rome, Sean Richardson, Currents News.
A special South Korean envoy is in the north tonight to set up a new summit meeting. The diplomatic delegation flew to Pyongyang today for a sit-down session with Kim Jong-un. They're working on plans for a third summit between Kim and South Korea's President Moon Jae-in later this month. Topping the agenda would be finding a path towards denuclearizing the Korean peninsula. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was in Pakistan today for talks with the country's new Prime Minister, Imran Khan. Relations have been strained since the U.S. accused Pakistan of providing safe haven to Taliban terrorists. Washington cut off more than $1 billion in security aid. Pompeo said he wanted to reset the relationship between the two countries. Paraguay is pulling out of Jerusalem and moving its embassy back to Tel Aviv. In May, then-President Horacio Cortez shook hands with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over the decision to relocate in the Holy City. Now, the new president, Mario Benitez, is reversing the move after pressure from Palestinians. The United States and Guatemala are keeping their embassies in Jerusalem. Israel is closing its diplomatic post in Paraguay. A social media showdown today on Capitol Hill as company executives faced a grilling in the Senate. Privacy, security, and the next elections were at the heart of the hearings. Kelly Smoot reports the latest.
Twitter and Facebook facing tough questions from both Republicans and Democrats during a Senate intelligence hearing Wednesday about the use of social media to influence U.S. politics by foreign entities.
What makes it good can be manipulated by bad actors to do harm.
Russian disinformation has revealed a dark underbelly of the entire online ecosystem.
Facebook's COO, Sheryl Sandberg, and Twitter CEO, Jack Dorsey, under fire for allowing accounts linked to countries like Russia and Iran to influence Americans.
The information your platform disseminates changes minds. It hardens opinions. It helps people make sense of the world. When you control that or you influence that a little of it, you're in a position to win wars without firing a shot.
The tech giants acknowledging they missed the disinformation campaign ahead of the 2016 election.
We were too slow to spot this and too slow to act.
We acknowledge the real-world negative consequences of what happened.
and outlining what they've done since to combat fake accounts, hackers, and attempts at foreign influence.
We're identifying and challenging 8 to 10 million suspicious accounts every week, and we're thwarting over 500,000 accounts from logging in to Twitter every single day.
We are now blocking millions of attempts to register false accounts each and every day.
But senators saying more still needs to be done.
I'm skeptical that ultimately you'll be able to truly address this challenge on your own. I believe Congress is going to have to act.
In Washington, Kelly Smoot, Currents News.
Brett Kavanaugh's Senate confirmation hearing today focused on questions for the nominee. He was asked about the importance of independence on the bench.
I think the first quality of a good judge in our constitutional system is independence. Independence comes directly from Article 3 of the Constitution. The independence of the federal judges really is guaranteed by the framers in our life tenure and our protection from pay reduction. So because we have life tenure, we are independent and immune from political or public pressure.
Kavanaugh was asked about the Roe v. Wade decision that legalized abortion in the United States. He replied that the Supreme Court had reaffirmed the ruling many times over the past 45 years. The storm ripping across the Gulf Coast has claimed a life and it's impacted thousands of others. Even though Gordon has been downgraded, Natasha Chen is standing by in Mississippi with the major concerns for the people living there today.
Well, flooding is a major issue today as Gordon makes its way inland. And here in Pascagoula, we're pretty lucky to have not seen a bunch of flooding, but the water levels behind me are about 2 feet higher than they were yesterday before the storm.
Strong winds and rain from Gordon are now being blamed for at least one death. In Pensacola, Florida, a child died after a tree fell on top of a mobile home. Gordon made landfall late Tuesday night, bringing fierce winds and heavy rain to the Gulf Coast.
You get to 6 and 7 inches of rain in Mississippi, then I'm gonna look for water to get about 1 foot to 2 foot up underneath my house.
Gordon has been downgraded to a tropical depression. 3 states, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama, declared states of emergency on Tuesday. In Louisiana, the governor has activated 350 National Guard members. As it makes its way inland, a big concern today is the potential for life-threatening storm surges.
We're watching the waters right now because those winds are shifting on us.
According to the National Hurricane Center, Gordon could drop heavy rain from Florida to Arkansas through Thursday, and seawater could spill on shore.
As the storm makes its approach, starts to go inland, we'll start to see wind shift and we'll see the tides come up.
And as Gordon continues to move north, it will eventually merge with a frontal system already dumping rain in the Midwest. In Pascagoula, Mississippi, Natasha Chen, back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Natasha. The National Hurricane Center warned that the storm still posed threats of heavy rain and flooding as it moves through the lower Mississippi Valley. There's a lot more news headed your way. 2 important firsts at a Queens church. Both are part of Mother Teresa's sainthood. And I'll have the story of Our Lady of Guadalupe statue and whether a mystery is a miracle. And a special preview of the latest edition of The Tablet, the newspaper of the Brooklyn Diocese. And do you have a story idea, something happening in your parish we should know about? We want to hear from you. Keep this email handy, newstips@desalesmedia.org. We'll be right back. Today, the world honors Mother Teresa on her feast day after her canonization last year. At St. Bartholomew Parish in Queens, the Bengali community joined together this weekend to remember the saint and to celebrate another important occasion, the first ever Bengali Mass at the church. The choir sang hymns in Bengali throughout the Mass dedicated to Mother Teresa. Months after a figure of the Virgin Mary in a New Mexico Catholic church appeared to be weeping, worshipers say the bronze statue of Our Lady of Guadalupe once again shed tears. Believers are convinced this is not a coincidence and they are dedicated to solving the mystery.
I just want everybody to know that this is real. I feel it's real.
Judy Ronquillo says worshipers noticed the statue crying again early Saturday morning. Tears still visible today. It's the fourth time it's happened since May.
You want to know why she's crying. You feel like, please tell me, how can I help? You know, when your mother is crying and you don't know what to do.
Parishioners and other faithful believe there's something supernatural at work here, a miracle. The church has yet to make that declaration. The Diocese of Las Cruces has been conducting tests on the tears since they first appeared. Results show the tears are made of scented olive oil, similar to what is used during baptisms. As of last month, they've yet to find a natural explanation, so they continue to investigate, saying, quote, if it is determined to be supernatural, they must discern if it is from God or the devil.
The congregation has grown. People have gotten closer to the Lord. Whether it's true or not, it's what's in our heart. And all God wants is a contrite heart.
I think she's going to keep crying. She is.
Despite the questions, the faithful continue to come to witness this for themselves and to pray.
I know she's a statue and she's there and you're standing in front of her just looking at her and you're like, this can't be, but it's happening. So that's when your faith just grows more.
Las Cruces Bishop Oscar Cantu says an investigation shows nothing inside the statue could have created liquid. The company behind the sculpture maintains it is unlikely any moisture would remain in the bronze from the manufacturing process. The Pope met with thousands of pilgrims this morning at the Vatican. In his teaching to them, the Holy Father reflected the fourth commandment to keep holy the Lord's Day.
La domenica è la giornata per fare pace con la vita, dicendo la vita è preziosa, non è facile, a volte è dolorosa, ma è preziosa.
Francis also stressed the importance of resisting the temptation to highlight the negative and instead to focus on the good things in life. Tonight, one of the good things in life, a special preview of the latest edition of The Tablet, the fabulous newspaper of the Brooklyn Diocese. Joining us now, my colleague, Jorge Dominguez. Thank you for being here, Jorge, as always.
Thank you, Liz.
You know what I want to hear. I want to hear about the top stories in The Tablet coming up. What do you have for us?
Well, some of my favorites are, the story about a 9/11 hero and the possible impact of the abuse scandal on the upcoming Youth Synod at the Vatican, and of course, the wonderful celebration of Caribbean culture at the Brooklyn West Indian Day Parade.
And which we covered, the West Indian Day Parade. All of that sounds so interesting, but I want to hear more about the 9/11 hero.
Well, this is a touching story. This is a fire lieutenant who died on 9/11, helping people there. His sons were 17 and 18 at that time. The oldest one goes to West Point and then goes to Afghanistan to fight for his country. The younger one became a firefighter to honor his father. So both of them are helping people, helping their country, right? 17 years after their father died, the father was a member of the ancient order of Hibernians, the Irish Catholic organization.
I know it well.
The two sons became members too, but they didn't stop at that. They decided to create a new division of the order in Breezy Point where they live, and with several members of the family. So a year ago, in the 17th anniversary of 9/11, they decided to create the new division. And in February, they actually started a new division with several members of the family, 20 people in total. 8 months later, they have 50 members. So it's a wonderful story.
See, and these are the types of stories that we find in The Tablet. These are stories that you don't find anywhere else, especially with regard to Catholic press. So what's the best way for people to kind of support it? Is it to subscribe or?
Well, Liz, did I
hit it on the head?
Exactly, exactly, of course. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe to The Tablet right now and save up to 55%. To order online, go to the website thetablet.org/home55, call 1-877-883-8356, or fill out and mail the coupon found in this edition of the tablets.
And this is something that we really are encouraging people to do, right, Jorge? We're making a social media push for this. We're pushing it on Currents News. We're pushing it in the tablet. Why is subscribing so important? Really quickly.
It is because the information that you find in the tablet, you are not going to find it anywhere else. You can find all the news about the Brooklyn Diocese. You can find all the news about the Church Universal, and you can find a Catholic perspective in every news that you read about.
Things you can't find anywhere else. That's what we do here. Thank you, Jorge. I love having you on set with me. You gotta join me more often. Still to come on Currents News, a new link between exercise and preventing serious diseases. And a retired teacher's faith gets a big boost when her angels come to her side. We'll be right back. A new study shows 1.4 billion adults are at risk. The World Health Organization says a third of women and a quarter of men worldwide are at risk for heart disease, diabetes, and cancer unless they up their physical activity. The organization recommends each adult do at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise each week or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity activity to reduce the risk of these deadly diseases. Finally tonight, the feel-good story of a Texas grandmother who, while shopping for groceries, found herself in an embarrassing situation only to be blessed by a random act of kindness. Myra Moreno reports.
Barbara Barbin is a retired teacher, spending her free time sketching and playing the piano. She's also a woman of faith and believes no matter how bad the world may seem,
people are kind in general.
There is a lot of good out there too.
I was overwhelmed then, just like I am now, and I was certainly grateful.
She told me about what happened to her this past week when she was at a Walmart in Pearland with her 13-year-old grandson who is legally blind.
So I was going there to get groceries.
But when she swiped her card,
it was not approved.
A little embarrassed and worried.
I told her, just let me go to the teller machine and try to see if I can get this thing to work, and it didn't.
It was then, she says, God had a plan. Her angels were right there when she needed them.
A gentleman walked up behind me and put $140 in my hand to pay for my groceries.
About 4 men in line behind her decided to get some cash together.
In times like these, my being a black woman, there were 4 white men, or maybe 5 if it was 4 of them and the one that came. They just came up and contributed to me just because they felt the need.
Barbara would love to find them and pay them back.
They reflect the kindness that was meant from the very beginning by God.
But even if she doesn't see them, she hopes that by sharing her story, people will know you were never alone, especially when you need it most.
Oh, I love it. Good Samaritans practicing the golden rule. You know what? Sometimes paying it forward is the best investment you will ever make. That is Currents News. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Liz Faublas. Set your DVR to record this program so that you never miss it, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.